to today's topic, kind of building up. We're building off the theme of the last episode. And for those of you who haven't seen it, the last episode, we asked a fundamental question. Are we living in a simulation? And we came to the conclusion, we don't know. There's evidence that maybe we are, but maybe we're not. And really, I think one of the core questions or the core things we came to is, does it really matter? And I think that's a fundamental question too, because if we are in a simulation and we have some control, or at least the illusion of control of our own life, why not do that, right? And I think that was one of the takeaways from last week. But we're building off of that a little bit, and we're asking another fundamental question about maybe not just men, but I think specifically men. But I think we can ask this question, and after we had recorded last time, I thought about it. I think this speaks to society more broadly, but I think we can definitely focus in on men. But the question we have, and we're here to investigate tonight, again, for the second time, is, are men weaker than in previous generations? John, obviously we have a little bit of background on this now, and having talked about it last week, but what's your feeling?
Yes.
Are we weaker than... Okay, we are.
Yeah.
And in what ways?
Every way.
Every way?
Yeah.
Okay. Explain.
The only strengths might be emotional, might be a little bit of an awareness, but I think we're pretty dead in curiosity. We're pretty dead in philosophy.
Yeah.
We're pretty dead in exploration, discovery.
What do you mean by that? Because I would say, I can imagine someone saying, and this is the first thing that came to my mind, is I don't know if we're absolutely dead on some of those things. Like discovery and exploration, I feel like a lot of serious efforts are being made into like space exploration and whether that's here on the ground with the advent of new groundbreaking telescopes like the one in I think Peru, or now we're going back to the moon for the first time in many years,
Right.
but not with just the intent to visit, but now, hey, we're going with the intent to let's figure out how we can build here.
Right.
Which I think, think about it for a second. In some ways, like, that's crazy. Imagine, hey, we want you guys to go to the moon and, just stake it out. Let me know what you think. We're going to put a hotel there or something. But to be the first man to do that, or the first woman, first person up there with the intent to actually build something crazy, that's got to be, that's ballsy. But that only speaks to a few. It doesn't speak to everyone.
Not to downplay war.
Okay.
But there's not any new conquests in that sense. I think part of what makes history interesting is there's all these different characters wanting to create conquest.
Yeah.
But I think in that sense, a little bit of that desire is just in the few, just in the same way as I'm saying the discovery.
Yeah.
I agree with you. There's still avenues, but I think in large part the swath of people wanting to lead in just that is kind of gone away. Instead, we have people who want to take over, what our current thing is, which is like finance.
Yeah.
Get into biotech. YouTubing.
Yeah.
The Internet of Things.
Yeah.
Software. It's not so much hand-to-hand combat as opposed to,
But my question, does that speak to a difference in spirit or a difference in landscape? because I think you can make the case that, 150 years ago, the ideas of borders and sovereignty and conquest were different as they are today. I think because of maybe living in a post-World War II world, there's something to like, hey, maybe not always in practice, but definitely in idea that countries should live in peace, right?
Mm.
And so I don't think the landscape of going out and conquering other people's land is popular, right? I mean, and we've talked about this quite a bit. If we're looking at Israel, for example, as a conquest nation in Gaza, how unpopular is that? I would say it's super unpopular. I would say most people would not be in support of that,
Right?
if that's exactly how that conflict is shaping up to be. So I'm wondering then, if the conquest looks different, like, does it conquest also mean like through technology dominating in other ways, space that new frontier where everyone's going to be rushing to build cities on the moon? You know what I mean? We're going to have a moon city at some point, a lunar city.
I hear you.
And so I'm wondering if just the landscape is different. But then I'm also wondering too, is if in the future, say if you figure 30, 40 years from now, when we have active people living on the moon rather, maybe in the moon, who knows? But if you have people living on the moon, I mean, how are they going to come to identify what laws and traditions are valuable? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, culture.
Like the culture that shapes on the moon or any sort of space colony over time is going to be different from the mother culture.
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering, would it look like the Wild West? Are we going to have another age of where different factions and groups are just going apeshit on each other? Maybe. That'd be an interesting future.
So, I mean, the reason I'm saying finance, tech, biotech,
Yeah.
computer science, like these are fields that are done, not outside.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
And so my reasoning is because that inherently is going to make us softer. Because you're not outside literally, like, toughing it.
Yeah.
Be it hot, be it cold. No matter what it is that you're doing. If it is that you're hunting, right?
Yeah.
When the most prehistoric of senses versus you're trying to do Robin Hood trading on your computer. Different kind of hunt.
Yeah.
So that you can go out to the supermarket. Do you get what I mean? Like,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's a different skill set. Yeah, it's different kind of man, different kind of... But of the two, which is going to be more robust to actually deal with Mother Nature, which is really the most important thing to deal with.
Yeah.
Instead of our own follies, right?
Yeah, I think between those two examples, the first example of the one who's outdoor, the one who's physically strong, is definitely more resilient to a world that could be in flux, right? Like if a natural disaster happens.
Not even disaster.
I mean, sure. But I guess my point is, let's just say in the context, you have a natural disaster, you have something bad that happens. Who's more suited to survive those things?
Let me just play devil's advocate a little.
Okay.
What if we go through another Great Depression? Who's going to survive when literally AI is the one that's taking away the jobs?
Yeah.
That's the Dust Bowl and everything else in its path, right?
Yeah.
So literally everything that we're talking about, everything that is done inside with computers that utilizes internet connection could be done with an AI, with a server. You get what I mean?
Efficiently.
And so...
cheaper. Yeah.
Now what?
That's a great point.
So the victor is the one who, creates the technology. Yay, bravo to him. But what happens to everyone else?
Yeah.
So he's conquering, right, that domain, this digital domain, whereas the reality is outside.
Yeah.
So which one matters most?
That's a good
So if we're in a Great Depression, and if you're completely clueless on how to farm, how to make your own food, like those kind of skills, now what?
It's a great question, and so I think it's something that people don't think about. The thought I had in my mind was just about resilience, right? You made the point that it's two different skill sets, but which skill set is more valuable when brass tacks hits, right? And at some point, AI is going to have the ability. I mean, let's be real here. AI is going to have the ability to. Most professions would be able to be done by an AI at much more cost efficient to the companies, and faster and better than any human could. So it's like, yeah, we have the skill set for the current world we live in now, but that skill set necessarily isn't necessarily the most resilient skill set. And I think about like a house of cards, right? You know, once something gives, like that whole structure falls. Whereas if you had some hard skills, you know, physical resilience, I mean, I can't imagine in the near future anyways that AIs are going to usurp construction workers or electricians in the same way that they're going to disrupt, you know, like thought work and office jobs and those types of professions. And it's not to say that eventually that's, you know, the construction workers, that they're coming for them too, right? There's a company, I can't remember the name, but they're working on developing houses within, you know, weeks, and it's all done by robotics and AI and shit. And I'm like, holy fucking shit. Like, they are really coming after everything. So I think if you want to know what the more resilient skill set is, I think having strength and having that physicality will also play into the mental and make you smarter and better for, you know, whatever. Let me rephrase that. I think the more physically resilient person who has more tangible skills is going to be better suited to adapt to a changing environment, where if the only skills you have is kind of in that sort of house of cards game, I just think you're setting yourself up for potentially unsuccessful future.
Yeah.
But so I think that's a good setup, though. So are men weaker than in previous generations? And I think you're probably right. We are. And I think, so doing some research for this episode, forgive me if I'm a little rusty, there was some information I found that I thought was relevant to this conversation. And one of the things I found that was really fascinating to me was hand grip strength.
Yeah.
So hand grip strength is not just an indicator for physical ability or how strong you are, but it's an actual indicator for your overall well-being in life.
Yeah.
Overall health picture. Mm-hmm. The higher the hand grip strength generally correlates to better health outcomes, right? And
yeah, basic shit.
Yeah. I mean, stuff that I think when you hear it out loud, it's obvious, right?
Well, I mean, the little boy asks the big power lifter, how do I become big and strong? And he says, just continue picking up big, heavy stuff.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, sure. I think it seems obvious. It's definitely those 1 + 1 = 2 moments. If you are strong, you're generally healthy, right? As indicated by it. But what I didn't know was like just how much the correlation is between decreased grip strength and health outcomes are. I mean, they're seeing that all-cause mortality is at like a 2-fold increase for people who are in that bottom 20% of hand grip strength. out of the population. And there's different ways to measure this, and then they have measured this.
The humans from Wall-E.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of what it boils down to.
The warrior class.
Yeah. Those guys in Wall-E don't have hand grip strength. They can barely use their fingers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's funny. I mean, that's such a good example because, and I think we've talked about Wall-E on the show before, but
yeah,
I mean, you figure look at their hands. Their hands are like fat gloves, right? But what are they good at? They can fucking manipulate screens.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see how people are manipulate that, like I've seen kids master and manipulate screens, but there's no movement in that. It's just literally their fingers or their thumbs.
But it is dexterity.
Sure. I mean, it's not to say that isn't the case, but it's just funny that that sort of parallel with Wall-E, that their fucking fingers are probably great condition,
yeah,
where the rest of their body has no.
It's just protoplasm.
Yeah, exactly. There's no utility in moving, right? And I wouldn't doubt that whole ship, the Axiom, man. They have a whole cremation. I'm sure that's not something Pixar. I wonder where the dead people go when someone dies. What are the rates of heart disease on the Axiom over the last 700 years? We found rates of heart disease. About 50. One in two people have heart disease. But then we just send the robots in and clean them up, give them a new stent, and get them out of there.
It's jet fuel.
Yeah, exactly.
We use them for jet fuel, Brian.
But that's the other thing, too. The ship's not even moving. It's parked.
Right.
So that movie is actually, man, that's one of the greatest movies ever made, like social commentaries. And Wall-E's starting to look more like The Mirror now, not so much of what could be, but what it is. And you're seeing, people are moving less, right? And it has a real effect on our health, right?
Our grip strength.
Our grip strength. Men today, man, they have poor grip strength.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, I know, but I was being a little facetious there, and I was going to make a masturbation joke, but I don't know if that's appropriate for this topic. But yeah, and then another thing too, and kind of looking into this topic, we as a society have engineered convenience in a way that, I think is more akin to the people in Wall-E, right? Even our bicycles now, you see all the kids on e-bikes. They're either pedal assisted or it's just like a motorcycle. You know what I mean? And it's not to say those things.
There's a side of me that wants to say conspiracy, conspiracies.
Sure. Well, we'll get to the conspiracy. I think there is at least a place for that. But we're engineering our lives to be more and more comfortable and less strenuous on the body. And I think there's some utility to that, but
keep going. Hold on.
Okay.
Less strenuous on the body.
Yeah.
And more strenuous on the
heart.
No.
Oh, I missed. What was it?
I mean, in the end, it's going to be the central nervous system.
Okay.
So it's our dopamine, our serotonin, right? All the happy chemicals, the oxytocin.
Yeah.
Right? All of this stuff that we have in our actual brain.
Mm-hmm.
That's the system that gets hit the most.
Yeah.
That's the world that we're living in.
That's a good point. Yeah. But I mean, we're engineering these things constantly. And
like you said, it's not just engineered, but it's out of convenience.
Sure. But that's what I'm saying. We're engineering this convenience to make our lives seemingly easier. And we're trying to eliminate all sorts of stress, all sorts of physical stress, things that I think in the past, like, there were requirements, right? Like, I think in one way you're like, you can ask, well, is it even a fair question to say are men weaker? Because the jobs we do are different. Like, we don't have people working in the farms or in manufacturing plants like they used to, right? So those, you know what I mean? Like,
here's my bad joke.
Okay, send it.
I had to change the headlight on my truck.
Uh-huh.
And one side is really easy. It's like it's painless. It's so easy.
Yeah.
The other side, however, either the engineers were completely out of the office
Yeah.
and just said, nah, it'll fit. It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Or they specifically made this piece
Yeah.
on the headlight for only a child's hand to fit through. Because I don't know of any grown man
Yeah.
whose hand can fit in this tiny little corner in this weird angle to get the headlight, to take it out, twist it, replace it, put it back. I was so close to having to ask my nephew, hey, dude, my hand's too big.
Can you help?
Thankfully,
Yeah.
a nice young girl's hand fits just as well. So either it was bad engineering or DEI.
Child labor. I was gonna make a bad joke too.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, that's funny.
That's true though.
Yeah.
Sad but true.
Yeah, I mean, but okay, so I think this all kind of goes into the in looking at this question and investigating a little bit. Are we weaker? And I think not only are the landscape of our work is different. I mean, it is different, right? We have a different skill set than our previous generation had, and that's not to take it away from that at all. But I just think, at the same token, we're actively doing away with physicality in everything we do, and so I think by default you get weaker physically across the board, right? And it's not to take away from athletes or anything like that, but like that's an exception. That's not the rule. I mean, it's funny, you see clothes from like the 1940s, like military uniforms, and these things are fucking small, but these are the guys who are fighting in the trenches. These guys were fighting in Europe and Asia, and it's just like, man, how small are they? You know what I mean? They're not like the big, huge, buff badasses, but I mean, they were physically strong. You know what I mean? And something that is just different today, by virtue of what we do. And the other part of that too, something else I found very interesting is that since 1980, our testosterone has gone down on average 1% per year, meaning, our fathers especially our fathers' fathers had higher levels of testosterone than we do today.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that they're finding that is that there's just men are fatter. We're fatter. And so the fat stores these in the fat cells, not just the fat cells, but in the cells that are stored in the fat of our bellies or wherever, they basically have this in the endoplasmic reticulum. Going back to 6th grade biology here, they have the aromatase, which will take testosterone and convert it into estrogen.
Hold on, let me go call Genetech.
Jesus. Anyways.
Yes, our mitochondria is fucked.
Yes. Yeah. But here goes the thing: the estrogen is important. Like, we need estrogen. Men need estrogen. It's I have in my notes here that fuck, I'm lost.
The Genetech threw you off.
Yeah, the Genetech threw me off. I was on a roll. Anyways, the important takeaway is that estrogen. It's okay. Men need estrogen. It helped. There are. Fuck. Oh boy.
That's a great one, Brian.
There we go.
Men need estrogen.
Yeah.
5 Yakults a day.
Anyways,
Get your moobs on.
my point is that there is a physical need for estrogen in men.
Definitely,
but
there is.
in balance, right?
Just making jokes.
No, I know.
Just jokes, folks.
I know.
Just
my
jokes.
my man boobs are ringing right now. But yeah, so there is a health reason and there is balance. Our body needs both hormones, right? But the issue is that now men who have higher concentrations of fat levels than we were, that's just the honest truth. We're fatter than we used to be. I mean, shit, I'm fatter than I was 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So because we have higher concentrations of fat, now we have higher concentrations of these cells that convert T into E. I don't know why I said it like that. And ultimately what we're finding is that this just decreases men's libido. So we're having sex more or less, right? Contributes to infertility, loss of muscle mass, fluid retention, and also increases our risk for things like cancer, like shocker. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're not only physically weaker, we're also just significantly less healthy than we used to be by virtue of moving less. And so if we're looking at the physical as a part of answering that question, are men weaker? I mean, I think objectively you can say, yes, absolutely. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's wild. I mean, have you heard there's like almost a pandemic of sorts with men who are no longer dating, who are just like habitually single. You know what I mean? And so men are having less sex, and therefore you're getting lower rates of reproduction. All the good things that we need to survive as a society. It's wild to me.
I met one of them inadvertently.
Really? Where was this?
The post office.
Okay.
I didn't want to talk to him.
Okay.
I'm not saying...
Did he recognize you from the pod?
Nice. I'm not saying that I talked to him, but he was so enthusiastic and enthralled having this conversation with the post office worker.
Yeah.
Because she complimented him for his unique special edition, limited edition Disneyland sweater.
Oh, well.
And he was like, yeah, I'm so happy I got this one. But he's like, I don't know how I feel about the latest increase for subscription parking. Because that's what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if...
Subscription parking?
Yeah.
For Disneyland?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Because apparently this guy goes more than sometimes his average. He's figured out over the last 3 years that his average seems to be anywhere between 3 to 6 times a month.
Holy smokes.
And he also was able to tell this lady that he's single. And...
Did he say single or self-partnered?
He enjoys and loves going to Disneyland. And he's like maybe mid-30s.
Okay.
He says he's single.
Yeah.
And I'm just standing in line trying to buy stamps. And this guy's over here professing his love.
Not for women, but for Disney.
For Walt Disney.
Oh, boy. You know, I can imagine a guy like that. He's out talking to a girl or something. He's like, hey, you want to see my Mickey ears? And she's like, oh, yeah, I want to see those Mickey ears. She's like, I want to see them.
Yeah, this is furry convention.
You know? No, but she thinks it's like his balls or something. And maybe that's what he calls his balls. I don't know. But then he legitimately busts out some Mickey ears.
Mickey and Minnie. What are you talking about?
But then he legitimately busts out his Mickey ears. He's like, yeah, I told you I got some nice Mickey ears. You see that? And this one's electric. I can push a button that makes the ears go
with the lights.
And she's like, oh, fuck, I thought you were going to fuck me or something. And he's like, oh, no, you kidding me?
That's after the fireworks.
Yeah. He's like, are you kidding me? I'm going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The fireworks, you know, you got to find a seat.
That's what I'm saying. After the
always
fireworks.
but he's not going to go because he's like, I've seen that fireworks show too many times. I'm going to go on pirate.
Are you kidding? This guy has the vibe that he would stay and watch, like as if something new would happen.
I can imagine he's on a date and he's just like, oh, this is the part. This is the part. They're going to do the firework with the Mickey ears. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, queen.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So that's our
segue, I think, to the next part of this conversation.
okay. I don't know if he's an outlier or if this is like the norm, but
I mean, I would probably, my suspicion would be it would be an outlier.
okay.
I don't imagine that person is indicative of everybody, right? But probably somewhere in the middle of that, right? Where you have people who, I mean, a lot of men are foregoing families, right? Foregoing relationships for one reason or another, right? And so maybe it's not as extreme as I'm going to Disneyland 3 to 6 times a month and fucking jacking off all over my ears and stuff. But yeah, maybe it's not that far. But I would posit that it's probably somewhere in the middle and not trending in the right way, I think. But and the reason I say the right way, and I'm intentional about that because I think that really is important. Good God, man, let me finish the fucking point.
Like not up and to the right, but down and to the left.
Oh man, we're not gonna get through this episode.
Yes, we are. It's gonna
No, I'm
be
just kidding.
Glorious.
No, but I think that really is a good segue into the next part of the conversation. In that, not only is that guy sort of like indicative of someone who's physically weaker than previous generations,
Yeah.
but also you could argue that he's spiritually weaker, philosophically weaker, morally weaker, right? And
It's a small world after all, Brian.
it's a small world after all, and it's not to shit on Disneyland, right? It's not to say that going to Disneyland is the terrible
Inherently evil.
It's not inherently wrong, but if that's where, you know, this guy's time is invested, like, what does that say about
Him. His morals, his upbringing, his parents.
What does it say about all of that, and what direction he's going, right? And I would argue our next guest would have a very, very strong opinion about that. What do you think?
Who's our next guest?
Our next guest,
Starla.
and the star of today's show,
Starla from Jetstrip. So she can tell us about, you know, the average man that she knows. That would actually be a really smart,
that'd be an interesting conversation.
investigative reporting.
So, Starla, what? What do you do for work? I'm an exotic dancer.
She's a student at USC.
Yeah. The best among us. No, but so I was going to bring up our primary focus of this conversation, Friedrich Nietzsche, because Nietzsche had some very strong opinions about kind of what we're experiencing. But I would venture to say that I don't know, but my guess would say that Nietzsche probably had a feeling that the world was headed toward nihilism, right? But I don't think he could anticipate what that nihilism would look like today. In the same way, like, I think when I think of Friedrich Nietzsche's view on nihilism, I imagine just a whole, what's the word I'm looking for? I can picture it being much more grander than I think the nihilism ended up being, right? If that makes sense. Because what I think the nihilism that we're falling into today is more of a passive one, where instead of, you know what I mean, instead of just the whole world having no meaning, the meaning is comforts, it's creature comforts, right? Like, instead of doing anything of really hard or fucking really difficult, we do the easiest thing, right? The way I don't know why you're laughing. What did I say?
Nothing. My brain's just.
No, but my point is that, everything, the way we're engineering our world today, right? Our phones, like, think about doom scrolling, right?
Right.
I would say the way we doom scroll and the way we use technology, I would say that's definitely a form of nihilism, right? Where now we're just pursuing something that has no meaning, right? And it's not to say that, and I think we talked about this a little bit on the last show about phone time, right? Is phone time in and itself a bad thing? No, but what are you doing? What are you doing with that time? If you're on the phone for 10 hours and you're actively working towards something, I would say that's fundamentally different than 10 hours of doom scrolling, right? But that's kind of what a lot of people are falling into. They're falling into something that requires no meaningful input, right? And a hallmark of nihilism is lacking meaning, lacking any purpose. And if you're using technology without any purpose, or you're doing something without purpose, like spending all of your time, your resources, and money at essentially as a big fair, right? It's a fantasy. They have in their name fantasy land, right? And it's this facade of happiness and comfort. And there's no struggle at Disneyland. There's no suffering at Disneyland, save for the fucking, parents who are walking around with a 2-year-old who took a shit in his pants and is crying, and that's suffering. But I mean, in general, like, they call it the happiest place on earth, right? But is that happiness even earned? I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, maybe for the people like Walt, yeah, I think he could probably say, I fucking worked my ass to build this place. But what did it come to mean? What did it come to represent? And I think it's kind of like a mecca for the people who are just trying to escape, right? Or trying to do very little to have fun. Because when you go to Disneyland, I mean, what's the purpose? Like, there's no like grand purpose to going to Disneyland.
It's an amusement park.
It's an amusement park. It's a fantasy land. And so I would say that not just Disneyland. I don't mean to shit on Disneyland, because I don't think Disneyland is evil or wrong or bad. I think going and enjoying those things in moderation aren't terrible, right?
Right.
But we're creating a world of men who are living online more, or living in these fantasy lands, and it's wild. So when you think about, hey, are men philosophically and spiritually weaker than we were in the past? I would say, yeah, but in some ways, like, men had to suffer in different ways back then, where I think meaning was kind of, found in that suffering in some ways, right? Like war. I mean, those guys were in World War II. I mean, they went through physical and literal hell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, what comes out of that? And maybe and that's the other part of this conversation that I think is important to examine, is maybe we're idealizing the past a little too bit. And can we make the argument that, I mean, this is how Western culture has been trending anyways? Who knows? That's a separate question.
The real basic tangible, like, you can just physically see it, would be if we were to start looking at basketball players.
Yeah.
If we were to look at what basketball players look like in the 1950s.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all white, pretty scrawny, usually. Maybe there's a few outliers that are kind of tall.
Yeah.
But there's not much muscle mass. It's not until we get into really the 80s where now we literally have multiple races, but everyone is pretty much built.
Yeah.
And this concept of getting strong, ripped, all of that happens because of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And how Schwarzenegger kind of just takes America by storm with Mr. Olympia, and like that becomes a thing. There's always been Hollywood in the background or the foreground, foreskin, interested in selling bodies.
Yeah.
Right. And idealizing physiques, movements, whatever. But if you were to take, the top athletic specimens in, let's say, basketball, and I say basketball because the shorts are small, the shirts inherently are very small, and so you get a good sense of, what the athlete looks like in comparison to other sports, right? And basketball is a pretty small, short, fast, physical game.
Yeah.
If we look at those guys in comparison to the 90s, they look about the same. Get into the 2000s, they still look about the same. 2010, now all of a sudden, the athletic specimen starts changing in basketball. Not so much the big brawny guy. We're now going for not as much muscle, a little bit more elastic, if you want to say, a little bit more fast twitch, not so much on the big arms. And the game starts changing too. Certain calls that normally would just be part of the game are now called fouls. And so it's a little bit softer.
Yeah.
In that sense.
And that, I mean, even too, the Golden State Warriors, best 3-point shooting team, during their run, probably of all time, and that's where the game went. I mean, 3-point shooting throughout the league just increased exponentially than it had been in the past. You see less drive plays. Not to say they don't happen. Obviously, it's still part of the game, but I mean, evidenced by the fact that now you have more free 3-point attempts than you had in previous generations.
Right. We have a specialist.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And we're doing something that's in that sense not natural. Because I think as humans, we're not supposed to become specialists. Only insects specialize. Right. So I think with that in mind, like, yeah, we're specializing more in certain aspects, certain tools, things that we're doing, but we're letting go of this innate robustness that we could have just if we live life a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Incorporating things that probably our grandparents normally would do that we don't. Also, I would even throw in there the basic luxuries of today's society. Hot water.
Yeah.
No one had that.
It's true.
I don't know about you, but like washing your ass when it's 30 degrees outside and there's no hot water and you have to boil it, you got to cut the wood. If you want hot water,
there's a process.
There's pain.
Yeah.
And I think in that pain, that's where you get that robustness, right?
Yeah.
That's the callus that grows.
And I think that's why Nietzsche is such a good example, and what he talks about when it comes to pain, right? I think our society is focused so much more on our comforts, our pleasure, our entertainment, that there is no pain in that. And I think that's where I was going with Disneyland and being a place of fantasy, is that if there is no pain, if there's no challenge, there's really no reason to grow, right? Like muscle, when you build muscle, like you're literally burning your muscle and breaking it down for it to grow back stronger so you can do harder tasks. And there's a lot of pain and suffering when you're in the process of training to do anything, like whether it's a sport, whether it's even when you're playing an instrument, right? Like you're learning guitar, your fingers are fucking getting blisters and you're in a lot of pain sometimes when you practice a lot. Your the tips of your fingers, the muscles in your hands, like everything is sore because you're learning and doing this new skill. And so in that suffering, like there's meaning behind it, right? And because I think we've engineered so much of that meaning out of our daily lives, so much of that suffering out of our daily lives, rather, we're having a purpose deficiency, right? I think people have an issue with finding what really matters to them, right? My dog's barking. I think people have an issue of really trying to find what matters to them because there's no struggle, right? You know, if people get out of high school like, well, I don't know what to do in my life, well, do something hard. You know what I mean?
Send your son to Dagestan.
Yeah, there you go.
2-3 years. Forget about it. Have you heard that video?
I have not.
You don't know where this is from?
I don't know where that's from, but it sounds funny.
Do you know who Khabib Nurmagomedov? I think I'm saying his last name wrong, probably.
Nah, I can't say. I do.
UFC fighter.
Oh.
Anyways.
Yeah. I'll watch it.
Serious Ultimate Champion.
Yeah.
It's his father talking about his 2 sons.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's a couple videos of, like, Dana White saying, you know, I've heard this from so many different people saying, you know, my son's going to be a champion and, you know, I'm going to make all these other champions. And he's like, nobody's ever done it except this guy.
Yeah.
Because both of his kids are champions.
Yeah.
In 2 different weight divisions and all kinds of stuff. Like, they are the guys.
Yeah.
And so they were asking him, like, how? How'd you, and he's like, yeah, send your son to Dagestan, 2-3 years. Forget about them. But he's not kidding.
No.
Because
not at all.
In Dagestan, they're Muslim and Russian.
Yeah.
So, like, they pray 5 times a day. They don't drink. They don't smoke. There's, like, they abstain from women because none of, like, if you're not married, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Because they're Muslim. And so all they do is train. At altitude, in some cases. In rough weather.
Yeah.
And it just hardens you. Just makes you a man.
But you got to figure, like, how much pain is in that process.
Oh.
A shitload of pain.
Oh.
And it's not only just how much pain, but I think how much, I would argue that you asked them about the pain. It's like, I mean, it became part of their lives.
But that's the Rocky cutscenes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The montage.
That everyone loves.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to do it.
Exactly. And I think...
and we have the technology, Brian.
We have the power.
We have the doctors.
Yeah.
We have the medical people from Genetech who figured out, you know, the Balco steroids to make you a man while you lose your testicles.
Jesus.
But at the same time, you know, you're going to lift 600 pounds. Come on.
Yeah. But I mean,
do you want to be a monkey or not?
But see, that's exactly my point, though, right? We're in a society where we have this purpose deficiency. Why is that? There's a lot of different answers that speculate.
Because God is dead, says Nietzsche.
Because it says God is dead, right? No, but so why is that? I mean, there's we can extrapolate that all day. But I think what's important in this question is, well, what's the effects of that? What are we seeing? And so we live in a society today where now, because there's a purpose deficiency, there's a market, right, for things that give you either one, for men mainly, one of 2 things. There's a market for giving you that strength that you need, you know, whether it's a supplement, whether it's some sort of brand, who knows, right? Or it's fucking pleasure, fucking porn, things like that. But what's the common thread between both of those objects is that they generally require very little input, right? And I think that's indicative of where we are, is that everything that we do, even the stuff that's meant to improve our lives, hey, take this supplement. This will improve your life. It's very little input that that I think most people would expect to get some sort of huge result out of. But there's no. Whereas if you know the two fighters that you just talked about, tremendous amount of input. I mean, all of it is all input. You know what I mean? But what is coming out on the other side, something that's refined, something that's, the best of all time, right? I'm not to say that the best fighters of all time, but obviously they're fucking champions. So how do you make champions? You go through hell. And that's just the reality. Whereas now we're getting no champions. Like, society speaking, I would not call our society full of champions at what they do and champions in their field, right? Very low input with the expectation for large output, but what really comes out, little to no output, right? And I think that's just evidence of the fact that we are weaker philosophically, morally, and spiritually than maybe we were in the past.
I mean, the ancient Greeks...
It's a question.
Right? When they would say, let's go to the gymnasium meant where we're going to wrestle.
Yeah.
And not only are we wrestling, we're wrestling with ideas. And so that's where all the philosophy would take place. Philosophy would happen in the gymnasiums. We don't do that.
Yeah.
We are a culture obsessed with, more than anything, appearance.
Yeah.
I would say. And so we want to, look cool as we do things.
Yeah.
And so if we can, have the appearance of looking like a ball player, for instance, that's enough. And we see it in the Little League World Series where sales for accessories in baseball equipment has never been as high as it's been to date.
Yeah.
All the sliding equipment, the elbow guards, the shoes, the custom this, custom that, highlighter this for the, it's a fashion statement.
Yeah.
More so than it is performance based.
Utility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and parents are the ones who are paying for it, right? Realistically, when we're talking about kids.
Yeah.
Little in baseball. And I think that's kind of that indication shit's going south.
Yeah.
We're obsessed as a society in the U.S. with football, with basketball, with sports. How many people actually participate in these sports? I'm sure it's a small segment of guys who watch baseball and actually play baseball.
Yeah.
On their own, men's Sunday league.
Yeah.
Or just to be charitable, as you would say, softball.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm sure, I know, right? Baseball, at least this last World Series, right? More than 25 million people watching.
Yeah.
How many of them do you think actually play?
Probably very little.
Like maybe 1 million? If that.
If that, yeah.
Do you get what I mean? And that speaks more to the society.
Yeah.
Our obsession with WWE. As Americans, we love sports, NASCAR, and we're completely, utterly distracted by it.
Yeah.
And I think that also leads into being weak. So we don't go to the gym to discuss ideas. No, we go to the gym to show off, our BBL.
Yeah.
Or, look how strong I am because I'm taking roids. And no, I'm natty. Trust me, I'm natty. 100%. The way.
I think that's a huge, huge point, man. And something I was thinking about too, is not only we, because we have this lack of purpose and real true meaning, right? And everything is superficial, like with the appearance of how we look our peers, right? And it's not to say there's no value in that at all. I just think it's become so, like, it's become the only value, right? But it has real effects, right? Real consequences. Like, people are taking more substances, right? We're seeing higher rates of addiction to drugs, higher rates of addiction to porn. We're seeing all these effects that, are shit rolling down the hill because our priorities are all wrong at a societal level, right? And I mean, it's crazy. So when I think about that question, are men weaker? Maybe the better question is just, are we as a society weaker? Are we sort of the nightmare that Nietzsche envisioned? And I feel like the answer would be yes, because in everything we do, the meaning behind it seems so superficial. Everything seems to be a facade, and people are legit dying, in real world dying, right? Not just spiritually, but physically dying. I mean, something like 100,000 addiction-related deaths every year with like fentanyl or heroin. How does one get to that? If you have no purpose, you have no meaning, and everything seems hopeless. And this is the life that is, you're told, is the good life, where you have all the creature comforts. I mean, yeah, I could see why someone falls into addiction, right? And it's not to take some of that personal choice and personal agency. And this, I think, why it's important, and what we talked about last show, is that if this is the cards you're dealt, like, you need to be responsible for yourself and knowing, hey, this is what I have to do to improve my life, to not to be in that same trap, not to be in that same cycle, and to really do things that are hard and find purpose.
Right.
And I think the only way you find purpose, true purpose, is by doing things that are difficult. And it's not always physical difficulty, right? It's things that are difficult, whether it's taking on a new challenge, taking on risk, and doing things that put you out of your comfort zone. And that for a lot of people, that's something that's physical, right? Yeah. And then for others, it's really doing what they've always wanted to do, and taking a step out of their comfort zone and tackling it with full force. Becoming mentally strong too, I think that's a component of it. So, yeah, it's an important question. So, for our viewers, kind of like what we did last show, if the question is, are men weaker? I would say mostly, yeah. But I think it's individual to each person, and I think you have to take a look at your own life and answer that for yourself. I think societally speaking, I think we can make the case, and I think we have made the case, that we are weaker than previous generations. But to anyone viewing, I think the takeaway is, don't worry about what society is doing, or don't worry about the trend society is doing. Do something for yourself, challenge yourself, and ultimately break through to that next level. And that can only be done if you do hard things. Whatever those hard things are, do hard things.
Here's how I know we're weaker.
Here we go.
And some odd, we're in a simulation.
Okay. Hit me.
Are you familiar with the game Minecraft?
I've never played it, but I've seen it. Yeah.
Why is it that we used to have children in the mines, and yet we make a game about the mines, and the children go back to the mines?
Didn't cross my mind. Holy smokes.
Huh?
That's interesting. So you figuratively put the kids back in the mines. Or I guess in some ways, literally.
They never left.
They never left. Little do we know that the Minecraft is the biggest source of Bitcoin mining in the world. We feast off all these kids' data because it gets us more Bitcoin.
Right.
They're mining. They're the blockchain.
Right.
Oh, boy. Somehow I wouldn't doubt it. If someone told me that today, hey, that's what Minecraft really is, just a big front for this Bitcoin group. Oh, yeah, okay. But on that note, John, my dog is barking. And I don't want to wake up your neighborhood here.
That's impossible. What do I live in the fucking slums?
No, I meant your dad. I was going to say your dad, but now I'm saying your dad. But yeah, come on, just to sort of summarize everything up, kind of putting a button on it. I think we are weaker, and sort of like what I was saying in that last point is, even if we are weaker, it doesn't take away from your ability to make your life different, to do something different. And I hope with all the information we've provided and everything we've discussed, I hope that, and I'm speaking to myself too, like, there's no excuse to not do hard things. And we had a conversation offline, I think, really hit me in a good way, where I'm like, let's fucking go do this. So I appreciate the conversation, John.
As always.
Until next time, this is the Below the Trees podcast. Do all the normal YouTube things, like, comment, and subscribe. We are 5 subscribers away from 100. So if you're just, if you made it to this part of the video and you're not subscribed, I don't know why.
Haggoth, go grab thy wood.
So please do all the normal YouTube things. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you on the next episode. This is Below the Trees podcast.
I'm Goodwood from Goodwood of Northwood.
All right.
Haggoth, bring me the wood for the wench.
The quivering in her voice, she screameth. Doth thine bring good wood? You have.
All right, too much volume.
Too much. Did you? I can't hear anything now.